Hey everybody, I'm Cafe Kaz, and now that the first RTA season is over, I feel like it's a great time to make an archive of where my account currently is, and hopefully this will give others an insight into my builds and my thought process behind them. So without further ado, I'll get right on into it. This will be a bit more of a casual build, as I'll just be kind of describing what I go through, and we're gonna go top down. So the first is going to be my Sirmia. Now, I've been running this Sirmia for a very long time. I run a fast Sirmia, mainly to get ahead of other green damage dealers. She was a great asset to my account earlier on, not so much as everybody started to hunker down and Charles's began to vanish away from the meta, but I was very, very happy with her. I was able to get a lot of damage on her, mainly because I high-rolled some of my pieces. Her weapon is amazing. But I really thought she was great, and the EE that they gave her that allowed her to reset the cooldown of her skill 2 whenever she kills somebody with skill 3 just made her all the better to use. Also, I guess I should go over the point that I'm mainly a crowd control comp user, right? So I don't play tank and spank. I like big damage and a lot of control, so you'll probably see that a lot through my account. The next unit that I use for RTA is not Ross, not Lilius, but Kieran. I ended up building him later on. He's still not entirely finished. As you can see, 99% crit rate and a plus 27 Alexia's basket, even though it's max limit broken. He's still got some work to do, but I'm very happy at where his stats landed off. I know there's a lot of debate between Alexia's basket and Elia's knife, but I can't get over the 40% chance to greater attack buff, right? It's just feels so good. So this is my build for him. I tried to get a little bit of bulk, tried to keep the speed higher, and then go for a lot of attack and a lot of crit damage. Ideally, when he's finished, he'll gain his last crit chance percent here, some extra speed to get closer to 190, and some more crit damage, right? I think in the future, I'll want to get his crit damage closer to 300, but I'm very happy with his stat line, and he stole me a couple of games. The next unit that I used was Firelytic. Now, she's not reforged, okay? She's one of my only strippers that's not reforged right now, but her skill 2 EE that allows her to strip an additional buff when using Thornbush did a lot for me, mainly because I didn't have enough strippers, right? I use Cerise, Falcon, Bazaar, and it still wasn't enough, right? If too many get picked onto the other team, I needed something left as an auxiliary pick. She really filled the job for me. I think later on, I'll give her even higher speed, so maybe she can become a speed threat, but I really don't have the gear for it right now. Now, my bread and butter, and those who know me know that I use Fire Tenebria, and this is my stat line. To all of the people out there who think that she doesn't have a lot of effectiveness, I'm rocking 161. I really, really like Abyssal Crown on her. I think it's the play over any other artifact, mainly because turn 1, after you strip your enemies, you get off that skill 3, you can defense break, you can sleep, and you can stun, even if you miss on water units. Honestly, Abyssal Crown is an insane artifact. I mainly tried to stack bulk on her after getting my speed to where I wanted it and my effectiveness. She wants higher speed so that she can follow up and continue to rotate turns with her S1, and as you can see, I did Mola invest into her. She's plus 12 right now, just so I can hit all the special effects and everything like that. I still need to finish reforging her as well. I'll gain some extra speed and effectiveness here, and I'm not really happy with this ring. It's just okay, but I don't have a lot of effectiveness rings, and there's only so much to go around. Hopefully I can get her to 170 or higher effectiveness. Well, actually, if I reforge these pieces, she'll be 170, but hopefully she can go even higher than there, because people are starting to build like 250 effect res units, and it's getting ridiculous. Some more of my units that I used for RTA, we could just skip over a lot of these, right? Because this is my scuffed PvE or Guild War Acades that I don't really use her for anything outside of that. Obviously my Tamarins for PvE, my Cigarette. The next unit that I would use is my Cerise, right? I was not able to reach the 290, 300 range within the season, but I got her decent enough to 280. I really like Guiding Light on her, which is her own artifact, because when you proc it on her skill 3 turn, you're invincible and stealth, which means that people can't knock you out of stealth, you're safe in the back, and you can freely continue to rotate up. Ideally, I'd want more effectiveness on her, and as you can see, maybe you can't see this last piece here because of the camera, but this is also a speed set piece, and kind of the problem is that none of my non-speed set gear was even remotely fast enough to go on her. So it's a little bit scuffed, and again, my effectiveness rings are terrible, but in the future she'll be way better. I did just roll a new neck for her that'll give her 9 more speed. Because her neck is slow, right? I've got an 11 speed here, but the 20 speed weapon and the 22 speed chest kind of help to carry her to bring her to those faster speeds and stuff like that. I really like Cerise. I think she's an incredibly strong unit, and you know, anybody that pulled her, you should use her, right? Even if you don't have the highest speed gear, her base speed will help carry her. Now for my second bread and butter unit, Seaside Bologna. Now, I don't know how other people build Seaside Bologna, really. I've seen tanky builds, I've seen the drink builds with no crit damage and everything like that, but I ended up settling for this. After a long time of deliberating, I knew that I wanted a certain amount of bulk on her, right? I do not want her to die instantaneously. I want her to be able to rotate turns, so I knew that I wanted speed set with a certain amount of speed. And then I just slammed as much damage as possible, right? When this is maxed out next rotation, I'll have 3.8k attack. I have a lot of crit damage, but all of these pieces are near perfect high rolls and stuff like that. My neck being one of the strongest pieces is 35% attack on here. And the one thing that I do like about this Seaside Bologna is the fact that sometimes I'll go against Rwana teams, and I can kill the enemy team and execute them with my S2 before she's able to heal, because I do so much outright damage. And the worst piece, the only piece that I would really think about replacing on here, maybe for some more, if this was like speed with a speed roll on it, I think this would be perfect, is this piece, because, you know, it has the effect resistance. You know, we can't escape effect resistance. I'm actually fine with the effectiveness that she has, because like my SSB, other units get like those random rolls of effect resist, so this helps to cancel it out. I don't think I have the stats to give up in order to give her super high effectiveness, but I'm very happy with this. I normally first pick her, just an insane unit, right? I ran her on Rosa Hagarna for the past year until I got drink. That's partially why this is only plus 27. I pulled 3 drinks in the last rotation. I was lucky enough, or my wallet was lucky enough to help me obtain that drink. As for the next unit that I used a lot, I really liked Dizzy. I like Dizzy on counter set with Abyssal because while I said before that I do run crowd control comps and I do bring a lot of strippers, I don't always want to be forced to bring a stripper, right? So a lot of times I'll bring in Dizzy when my opponent drafts a lot of fire or a lot of units that are weak to Dizzy, they don't have a lot of cleanse, and I can just bring her in, she'll move after the enemy team and just debuff them. And at that point, she's going to rotate back over you because you're slowed and you're locked down forever, right? Counter's very strong, and I like the additional chance to stun. Again, I think Abyssal Crown is the most insane artifact ever, right? Ridiculous artifact. Her defense stat is also insanely high, so I'm running a defense % boot, and this is one of the best pieces that are on her. I didn't have enough time to finish reforging her, so her pieces are kind of scuffed, even getting the stat line. On all my units, I like to have higher effectiveness, so at least she can hit the 150 effect res units consistently. She is rocking an effectiveness ring and actually a flat HP neck. You know, this neck actually gives more HP than an HP % neck, because of this here. I mean, it's garbage, right? I want to replace it, but I can't. It's too good. You know, and I don't farm enough Banshee to actually get rid of it. I made a one-shot team so I could get a couple of reforges in here, and this weapon is particularly good as well. Moving on. I don't use Luka in RTA, but I want to show her. I love Luka, right? I love her in PvE. I think she's insanely good. I use her in my A13 team. I use her in all of my raids, both normal and hell, and, you know, she's cool. I like her a lot. She was on basically free gear. This is basically free gear, right? But I really do like Luka. I think she's a good unit. The other unit, the next unit on the list that I use, kind of my Angelic Mount see, it's not geared, is Deanne. Now, I didn't reforge my Deanne. I don't draft her very often, but when I like to pick units like SSB, and if my opponent forces me into picking a slower comp, Deanne's very, very strong. One of these days, I do want to get a higher effect res build on her, and maybe a little bit more bulk. I think it'd be really, really nice, but if you have Deanne, she might as well have gear, right? Because you can pick her, even at this stat line, right? The only real difference, I think, between this and like the high tier reforged SSBs, also LOL Blue Ring, is like they have like 90 more effect resistance and maybe a bit more speed, right? But it's fine, right? I don't need to resist anything. I just want to get up my buffs and keep going. And I molded her because I think I started the game around when Deanne first came out. The next unit on the list that I use sometimes, and again, this is another not reforged unit, you're going to see this a lot on my account for some of the bruisers and my lesser picked units, is Alexia. Originally I had her on a crit chance build, but I wanted to give her more damage. I still need to lower her crit chance from here because she's going to get reforged. I want to get her to around like 22, 23k HP with over 200 speed, and this will be 270 crit damage when she's maxed out. I think the high damage Alencias are the really terrifying ones, but it's just hard to get the right gear on her. And again, none of these pieces are anything special, except maybe this. I like this piece a lot, just because it's crit chance and a lot of crit damage. But she kind of gets like that lower end gear that I have, and you know, then I don't have anything else to do with. Oh no, she's on crit chance neck. How do I have so much crit damage? She's on crit chance neck. I completely forgot, actually. I need to lose a lot more crit chance. And then maybe she'll have a stat line that's really, really good. This guy will be finished eventually. I will bring back Purgus. I think he's good. I just need to farm Banshee forever. And it's the hardest thing to do, I swear. I also have this really, really good crit chance neck, but you know what? I don't know. It's hard. I need crit damage rolls. I don't use my Charles at all. The next unit I use is Falcon or Clury. Now, I love Falcon or Clury. She stole so many games for me. This skill is insanely strong, especially now that Remnant Violet is out. You know, just because you don't hit them, right? Elemental disadvantage doesn't matter. Defense break, provoke when you don't get 15%ed. And the amount of healing that she gives to herself and her team is so ridiculous with this skill, right? She can really sustain herself, and the damage that you get from Light Step, because it has defense scaling, is nothing to scoff at either, right? I've had times when Falcon or Clury has taken like 4 turns in a row, right? Just because she rotates so fast. Actually, maybe 3. She's not finished being reforged. I can't figure out what to do with her left side pieces. They're not good enough for me to reforge them. They've just kind of lost rolls, because this is like 1, 2, 3. This was like 3 rolls on a epic piece. It's just kind of, I don't really want to do it, but this is 3 rolls into speed, right? It's just tragic. But the neck is very, very good. You know, sometimes you get pieces like this that have 2 flats and, you know, 2 stats that you want, and it just rolls right. And this is a lot of bulk comes from this ring right here. And then my boot is 34% effectiveness, right? So that's where my effectiveness comes from. And again, I'm hitting that close to 135 stat line. Now, again, people are pushing higher and higher effect res. I'm going to have to push higher effectiveness to catch up to them. But you want at least 1 defense slot on Falcon or Clury, in my opinion, right? Because of the defense scaling on her first skill, you'll do so much more damage. And I run Aureus on her currently. I'm thinking about changing it to Justice for All because I do have this. It can be plus 27, which is a 95% chance to get a buff. People have been telling me it's strong. I haven't really had the chance to try it out again since I've gotten my Falcon or Clury to be better, so I'll probably test that out in the future. But I like Aureus, and I think she's a very good Aureus holder just because she heals herself so much, right? She also heals her ally, her team, and everything like that, right? But, you know, Falcon or Clury takes a little bit of damage. She heals it right off. You know, you just keep trucking, just keep cycling turns. You'll be all right. The next unit that I have down here is something that, you know, of course, not this, right? She has Mola, but she's not being used, is my Bazaar, okay? And you look at my speed, and you're like, Cafe Kaz, why are you so slow, right? I am not one of those people that has like the 270, 280, 290 Bazaars, right? I'm not able to hit that stat line. I just can't do it. I still think Bazaar is an insane unit. He's a counter to so many units. So what I did was I just put him on speed immunity set. I tried to give him a decent amount of speed, so he's rocking at 250, and effectiveness subs, right? Because I have a little bit of bulk here because I'm running HP percent right side pieces. This deck is particularly good. I'm running HP percent right side pieces, so I can give him a bit more bulk. He's able to survive Assassin Sid, attacking into him and other threats and stuff like that so that he can get off his third skill, which is ridiculously strong, right? I don't even have Molas in him. I need to Mola. He's on my list, okay? He's on my list. But I don't even have Molas in him. I would still pick him all the time. I run Tagahel so I can get that soul burn if I really need it, or I can use those souls for some of my other allies, right? Because sometimes you're playing on the field and you really want the Falcon or Clury soul burn, or an extra S10 soul burn, or, you know, just something. You know, maybe I have him in Athletica and I don't need the soul burn on his skill 3. I need the reset to land, 100% chance, right? So then I reset with Athletica, right, with the soul burns. The souls are OP. The next unit that I have on my list is Vivian. Now, I recently made a video about Vivian. I think she's an insane unit, and I've upgraded her since then. If you saw earlier in the video, my Sirmia now has a helmet that is not reforged, right? Because I gave her helmet to my Vivian, right? She has very, very good pieces. I like them all a lot. Maybe she could have a little bit more attack percent. I unfortunately don't have any crit chance imprints, so I can't really lower her crit chance at all. I really want her to be at 100% crit chance just so she can hit all the units. And I can still get a little bit stronger from here. The only problem is that this neck right here is actually 3 rolls into speed. So I refuse to reforge it, right? Just out of principle, right? I would get 3 more speed, but I would feel bad about it. You know what I mean? So I'm very, very happy with Vivian. Obviously, the only artifact for her is Dignus Orb, right? Getting a barrier equal to 96% of your attack. I think it's, what is it at? Plus 15? I don't know what it's at plus 15, but I know at plus 30 it's 120%. This artifact is insane, right? Completely bonkers. And you gain 15% damage for your next attack, which most likely is your Thunder God's Cry or your Toilet Bowl, whatever you want to call it. I gave her plus 7. I'll probably give her another Mola for her skill cooldown. I like her at this speed. I think anywhere from 240 to 260 is ideal, and then just a lot of damage. And I'm currently running the exclusive equipment that increases her combat readiness by 50% when she uses her third skill. So usually what happens is that like my Vivian will use skill 3 to wrap back around to the back of the enemy team, and then I'll just clean up after I've gotten the fluff damage that I need. I think she's really, really strong against Cerise in particular, because one Cerise usually will miss on her 50% of the time, but even if she doesn't, after she stripped your immunity from your team, you just put it back up, right? You just put the immunity back up, and it doesn't even matter. It's like nothing ever happened. And for that, she's really, really good. I like to run double immunity, and you'll see my other immunity user in just a second, but really, really strong unit. I also bring her into Champions Zeratos, Dizzies, all that stuff, right? It just doesn't matter. And even like an Ilela Island Dizzy is never going to be able to knock off all the buffs that Vivian puts out in time to actually do anything meaningful before she gets destroyed, right? And she's very, very strong into SSB as well, right? Because SSB can't defense break, and Earth unit, right? Big damage into her. The next unit that I use is Ray. And I also made a video about Ray recently. I like big effect resistance, right? I was talking before about other people using high effect resistance. I'm one of them, okay? With this, he goes up to 247% effect resistance. That's why I run Shamadra Staff on it. I don't know another artifact that would be better for him because his own artifact is complete garbage. But I stacked as much effect resistance as possible. Some of these pieces, I have 37% effect res here, another 24 here. I'm running an effect res ring. I crafted for these. I was hunting hard. I only have like 2 effect res rings. And he has one of my better boots for effect resistance at 31%. And this weapon rolled a lot of effect res. I know some of you out there probably have other 88 speed set gear. It's like rolled into a bunch of effect res. You just throw it on Ray. You know, he likes it. He's very bulky. People often compare him to DJ Bazaar. DJ Bazaar gives the combat readiness. Ray has more healing and stuff like that. But Ray is also bulkier. He won't fall down. His defense stat is very, very good. And because of that, he can take hits and keep on going and heal up the team. It's very hard to take Ray out. even with like some like fast damage dealer, right? He's just gonna keep on trucking and healing and stuff. Unfortunately, my Rowan is not geared at all. She is 6-starred, but I don't use her at all. I usually like I said, I usually pick SSB. If she's on the enemy team, I, just kind of cry a little bit. And I might as well show off one of my PvE units, my General Purgus. He's very, very tanky. I use him for Wyvern 13, obviously. And he's got a 36% health chest. It's just standard Wyvern stuff. I don't use my Judge Kisei for RTA. I do use my Little Queen Charlotte sometimes, okay? Again, another bruiser, no T90 gear. Okay, she's got one. The boot is T90, right? But no T90 gear. And because I do not have 100% crit chance, and I am scared to miss crits, I have Hellcutter on her. There aren't many good warrior artifacts, but I think the possibility of getting to closer to 100% chance crit is worth just slapping that on her. We'll upgrade her in the future. But for now, she's kind of on scuffed gear. I keep stealing her gear for other people. It's 20% crit chance here. And this, just 30% crit damage, I don't know what to do with her. I really, really like her. I like her quotes. They're all hilarious, but she doesn't really fit my playstyle like 95% of the time. Now, I don't really use Crimson Armin in RTA, but here she is, Crimson Armin. She's not really part of my double immunity strat. I'll usually either pick Ray or Vivian, mostly because Vivian goes much higher in the turn order because she's a lot faster, and Ray because he cleanses off those debuffs before he does anything. Also, I do want to say this, just to backtrack a little bit, immunity's a must on here. Okay, I do run him on speed set immunity. I think immunity is insanely strong, especially on high res units, because like, if they misstrip, right? Then their Silverblade Araminthas, their Tenebrias, which generally have higher effectiveness, can't hit you, right? And that's so important, right? They just lose all opportunity to hit you. So I think immunity is really, really strong on him. And if you do ban out the strippers, they're not hitting you anyway, right? There's nothing they can do. But yeah, I don't usually use Crimson Armor for that. She's mostly on spare gear. Sometimes I'll draft her in if I really, really need her. But she's just mostly leftover gear. Her ring is kind of okay, right? It goes to 39% health. It's just all right, I just try to give her random tank stuff. I don't use Spider Maya. I do use Mercia sometimes. I am nowhere near what some of the other Mercias that I have seen are. And I will not complain about missing a dodge, because while this is max limit broken, I don't have the artifact charms to upgrade it. So you know what? Hey, she's fine for now. She's on speed boot. I have this crit chance next, so it does 29% crit damage. This is insane. I want to use it on somebody, but I don't know where else to put it. All the rest of her gear is pretty mediocre. Like, her ring is pretty bad. What do I do with this? But, she does the job sometimes, right? I've brought her into, CC comps and our Violets, and I've been working on getting her speed imprint up. I think this is really strong. I do need one more. Okay, I need a Mercia, all right? Galaxy bookmarks, please. Give me Mercia. But I think she's a really, really strong unit. If you get higher damage on her, she does even more. I like lifesteal on evasion units, as you'll see when I get to my other evasion units. I think it really allows them to sustain themselves, right? Because when you dodge, you're still taking damage, right? But, if you have lifesteal, you're able to kind of sap that back and, get that solo potential going on. So my next unit, my Faithless Lytica, all right? You already know I use her. Right? Every game I can, I'm drafting Faithless Lytica. I'm rocking 273 speed. Not the fastest, but not the slowest. And I have immunity set. I have immunity set because this is my second fastest suit, right? The other one's on Cerise, but this one has more crit chance, right? Which I need to hit 100% crit chance in order to get her skill 3 going. And, it just rolled like that. I got another crit chance neck, and it was immunity set, so, I'll take it, right? She has a little bit of bulk splashed around, and her boots are particularly good because they have a lot of effectiveness on them. But the immunity helps me out sometimes against Assassin Sids that are lower damage. Assassin Sids, if I bring Fallen Cecilia with me, right, she'll survive the hit, she won't get silenced, and then she can just pop off. Sometimes she'll resist the strip from Cerise's, and she can just pop off, right? It's not necessary, but it's good. I love immunity, right? We go way back. I have 138 effectiveness. This is really, really nice. It allows me to hit Ruels. I don't have the imprints at all. right? I'm hoping that I can slate her in the future. She'll be one of my next targets. Probably her, Remnant Violet, or hopefully if I pull him, Arby. We'll get my next slates. I think this extra 27% will help out a lot. And recently I did Mola her skill 1. I've been trying to Mola the units that I use the most even more, and this blind chance is so strong. Like, imagine like you can't hit your debuffs because you're blinded and you miss, right? It's too good, right? I really want it, and so because I use her a lot, you see she's my rep. I really do love Faithless Litica. She's one of my favorite units, both like aesthetically and gameplay wise. She really enables my comps. You know, I would not be able to play like, you know, F-Liddy, Fire Tenny without F-Liddy, right? You know, it's just, you know, it doesn't happen, right? Great unit. I did pity for her back in the day, and you know, we don't regret. We don't regret. The next unit that I have is Ruel. My Ruel is nothing really special. I have her at higher speed because I have Speed Boot that has 37% effect res, and I wanted to get her to close to 150 effect res. Her HP is very low. I want to get it higher into the future, and her defense is really good, right? I don't have any self-imprints, so that would probably help out with her HP as well. But I did throw 5 Mola into her just to get her skill 2 with the cooldown. I rarely picked her into RTA because I'm not a crowd Ruel player, but when I did, Ruel won the game. Single-handedly, right? They're C-doming you, Ruel lives, you kill the entire enemy team with your SSB, right? It just doesn't, it's way too good. She's my only reviver. I didn't have her before she came out at Mystic Rotation, and I wasn't even going to pull her, but because I'm a gacha player, I cannot resist the urge to summon, so I summoned, and you know, we got her, we geared her up and everything like that, so this was the best that I could do currently. I'll show you some of her gear pieces. She just has like, you know, effect resist, some speed, you know, some stat in here, you know, just some stat, nothing too special. Just some stat all around. This piece is garbage. I refuse to reforge it. I'm saving my manifestation stones. And the next unit that I have geared for RTA is not my ML Ken, because we don't use ML Ken in RTA. I'll show him for a second anyway. He's been kind of nerfed as time has gone on, and he's got some free piece here, some non-reforged here. I've been stealing his pieces, alright? I'm sorry, I don't use you anymore, ML Ken. Even though I pulled for you when you came into Mystic Rotation, it's just not, I can't find a use for him. I do use Fallen Cecilia a lot. In Guild War, RTA, what have you. She's a very strong unit, both to counter Faithless Litica, somewhat, you know? And just because of the damage that she brings and the protection as well. I switched her to Adamant Shield from Elbrus a little while ago just so I would have some extra damage mitigation. I don't feel comfortable with her on Aureus because she doesn't have that super high HP stat, but I really like having the Bruiser stats even though I can't hit 100% crit chance. Hopefully I'll get a little bit higher once I start to reforge her more. I really like this piece right here and this piece right here, 35% health. It's really good, but her right side is lacking, right? It's just, her right side is garbage, so, you know, there's nothing that we can do about that, but the Bruiser stats let her clean people up. Her skill 3 does a lot of damage, and I have Mola invested into her. She was my first ML 5-star that I got, and, you know, I really like Fallen Cecilia. Time has treated her kindly, and I'll probably use her on much more in the future. Again, eventually we'll get some better gear here. I do like her speed though, right? I like being fast enough to cut above the enemy's like main damage dealers. You see like a lot of damage dealers are like 200 speed to like 180 speed, like that faster bracket of damage dealers. She cuts in front of them, right? All the K-Rons and everything, right? That, you know, she'll put up the skill 3 and they can't hit you. Right, which is really nice if you had anything faster to knock him into immortality or, you know, what have you, right? It's very nice, and once she gets into Frenzy, she does really big damage, so it's really good. Now, the next unit that I have is my Assassin Kali. I debuted her a while back, and she still doesn't have a helm, right? I can't get a helm that's better than this. I need to lose crit rate. It's just not, there's nothing I can do, right? But she's 273. I really like her speed. I would like her to be 280 or higher, but I don't want to drop damage at all. I feel like she needs the damage. I can get another 100 attack when I get more R and Ls, but right now it's not possible. I'll show you some of her gear pieces. This neck is really, really good. It's what allowed her to get to this speed. This ring has a lot of rolls into HP percent. Originally, I didn't like it as much, but you know, I like having a little bit of bulk on Akali, because when you're stealth, you only take half of the damage you normally would take. So having that a bit of extra bulk kind of helps her survive in some situations. And then this is my best boot that I have, right? This is my best damage boot. I have not seen a better damage boot than this. It rolled, you know? Sometimes you get those pieces, it's got effectiveness and some damage stats, and sometimes they don't roll effectiveness. So, you know, I have this, it's on Akali, and we're keeping it here. The suit is just 19 speed, the helm you saw a little bit earlier, and then the weapon's 15 speed. She has some room for upgrading, but again, I don't want to drop the damage at all. I use her to break down tanks, right? When I see Crow, Well, Deanne, A. Ravi, single target, right? Dark Corvus, I send in Akali, all right? I send her in, she deletes them. Hey, check out my Tank Buster video, okay? Very, very strong unit. I think RNL is best in slot on her, just because like getting extra turns not only can help you shake off debuffs so you can return into stealth, but so that you can get back to your skill 3 faster. It's very, very nice. And I enjoy her greatly as a unit. The next unit that I have here is my Remnant Violet. Now, Remnant Violet is very good, I'll say. There was a little bit of a pause there just because I didn't know what word I wanted to describe him with. I like lifesteal the most just because, again, evasion units, you take damage, you lifesteal it back, you're good to go. His skill 3 does big damage, and I think slowly but surely I'm starting to figure out how I want to use Remnant Violet and in what team comps. I can go ahead and show the gear pieces here. I high rolled my lifesteal pieces, and that's the reason why he's on lifesteal, right? Like, this is my Abyss piece, that's 44% attack. I have a lot of crit chance here. This piece rolled a lot of HP percent and speed, and then I have this speed boot that kind of finishes out my crit chance and stuff like that. The neck is really mediocre, that's why it's not reforged and why I'm not at 100% crit chance. I'm thinking that I will exchange this out for... I had another one, is it this one? No, it's this one. I had another one here, it'll give him more attack percent, it'll give him more health, and, you know, a dash of effectiveness, and maybe I'll give the first slate over to him, so he can actually achieve that 100% crit chance, but I've already plus 15'd him, right? I think he's good, I'll probably use him a lot more in the future, and I think Moonlight Dreamblade is best in slot, and I will tell you why. It's because when you're at turn 1, and the enemy has a chance to kind of get rid of everything that you're trying to do, strip away your evasion, you know, hit you with that Bazaar, that Cerise, whatever. Oh, sorry, I hit the mic. Hit you with that Bazaar, that Cerise, whatever. It doesn't matter because you have an extra 20% chance to evade, and that turn 1 really matters, right? A lot of matches are decided at turn 1, and if you are not immunity on Remnant Violet, if you're not Moonlight Dreamblade, that's just more obstacles you have to overcome in order to actually do his job, which is to evade, be annoying, and kill people. I tried to aim for as high damage as I could while having some bulk. I think in the future I'll give him a bit more defense, and if I can get more speed, I'll get more speed, right? I think faster is better, but I'm very happy with the around 180. He lines up very nicely in my team comps. I don't use my Challenger to video. I'm trying to get more damage on her, but she's not reforged. She's missing all of these. I don't think a lot of these pieces are good enough to reforge. Like, this is just okay. It's like 1 roll into attack, so I can't hit the big damage sets. I like this a lot though. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. But a lot of her gear pieces just aren't good enough to reforge. So she's just chilling right here. I did give her this ring recently, which is 35% crit damage, and I self-imprint her now because I try to build a lot of my units either on 100% crit chance or have something else inside of their kit, whether it's their artifact or whatever, to help them get up to that crit chance that they need. So I just don't worry about it, right? It's whatever. I also do use Challenger Dominion in my arena offense, which is Faithless Litica, Oxlots, Judge Kisei, and C-Dom. So C-Dom will always move before my Judge Kisei, so I'm fine with crit chance on there as well. Even though I didn't show her, she has 96% crit chance or something like that. 96, 98, something like that. I don't use Champion Zerato. I used him in the past for a little bit, but once I started to adopt the double immunity strats of being able to pick Vivian and Ray into crowd control, there was no reason to use him because immunity is the counter to his entire kit. Also, we now have the news that he's going to be able to get recalled, so I'm throwing my Champion Zerato away, right? I'm going to take these pieces, I don't know who I'll use them on, but I'm gonna use my Moonlight Selector to get Benevolent Roman. I did reforge these pieces here, which, you know, maybe they'll find a home sometime. They are very, very good kind of health percent damage dealer pieces, so I'm sure they'll find a place eventually. Now, for my Spectre Tenebria, I tried to aim as much damage as possible while hitting a certain level of speed, 100% crit chance, and then some bulk, right? Because she wants a little bit of bulk so she can survive. And one of the things that I feel like a lot of people don't know is that her passive, which I don't have max because, you know, Molagora, scales off of what's on the sheet here, right? So this number that you see here is what goes up with her passive when it begins to stack. I like Tagahells on her because, you know, you have that opportunity to soul burn other units on your team that you need, or, you know, you can decide, hey, you know what, turn 1, I'm gonna soul burn my skill 1 and then skill 3 somebody for the kill, or I'm gonna skill 3 and then round 2 I can go ahead and get 4 targets hit with my skill 1s, right? It's very, very strong. The pieces on her are alright. As you can see, I have 3 free-to-play pieces on her. The boots are particularly good. They have 22% crit chance, you know, some flat attack, defense, whatever. I have a bunch of purple pieces here. This one's a lot of crit damage and some extra crit chance. This rolled 21% crit chance, right? This completed the build right here. And then the neck is alright. The problem is that for me to replace this neck, I need a perfect neck to replace it. That's just a standard upgrade, which is very, very hard to get, especially because I'm not trying to go back in Golem right now. As you can see, I have these reforged. You know, I've been around Golem. And then the ring is particularly good, right? Free gear can roll amazingly, and when it does, it's just spectacular, right? So I keep this on here. Eventually she'll get a bit more damage, and I'm very, very happy with where she is. I often draft her into my team comms as an auxiliary damage dealer to like my SSB or something like that. You know, I'll draft my strippers, my CC, and then I'll throw in a Spectre Tenebria, right? Because, you know, it'll give me extra souls to work with and some more damage if my opponent is heavy into single target. And the last unit on board here, my ML Haste. Hey, I switched him over to Portrait. I like the damage on him. When I get more Molagora, I am going to skill this up, I promise, right? The damage on here can be huge, especially with Portrait. The gear is okay. I'm thinking about self-imprinting him in the future. I had a bunch of hastes that I fed to him, so maybe I'll go ahead and self-imprint him, and then eventually level this up as well. With all of the Arby's coming, you know, haste is going to be great. I think high defense on him is good, even though it doesn't scale with his skill 3 as well. He has insanely high defense, right? So I gave him this ring, which is particularly good. It's 30% defense on here. This will go to 35 when I reforge it, and you know, we'll eventually replace these other pieces that can't reforge. I'm not upset about effectiveness on him just because he does strip with skill 1. You know, it doesn't really matter, but you know, we'll make the excuse of why it's okay. And other than that, I think that's it for my units. I do have auxiliary lots, and you know, I could show him. It's just all my speed is on my other units. Okay, his 241 speed, I have him on immunity because I have everyone on immunity, right? Except for Champion Zerato, it's not even geared. But yeah, everybody gets immunity sets. But yeah, these are my units. These are where they are. Like I said, I do like to draft a lot of Faithless Lytica, Fire Tenebria, SSB, Spectre Tenebria. All those units are really, really nice for me, but I think in the future I'm going to work on my bruisers as well a little bit more, just because sometimes when my opponents know who I am, they immediately start drafting against it, and it becomes infinitely harder. But yeah, this is my account. This is where I'm at. I'm very, very excited with my progression so far, and I'm hoping I can continue to progress into the future. This was a very, very long video, and I probably won't edit it heavily, but let me know what you think. If you have any questions about any of my builds, if there was anything that I missed, feel free to let me know. And, you know, feel free to drop a subscription as well if you like the video. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm working towards pushing YouTube a little bit more. There will be more content on the channel, and as always, this has been Cafe Kaz, and thanks for watching.